Today, let's do a timeless story of a client who is on a budget. Now, this happened to me many times, and I'm sure it has happened to you as well. And this is something that I start to see probably earlier and earlier every time that it comes in. So I'm able to spot these kinds of problems early. And today I want to share a story of a client on the budget, just so you could do the same and know when to expect it. So is this going to be an educational video? Yeah, probably not. Will it be entertaining? Hopefully. So what the hell am I talking about? Well, for me, it usually starts like this. I see an email or call to a project manager. A client is like, hey, we're really on a budget. We're trying to get this done. We have a few documents. We have a very simple case. Please give us like the best pricing on hosting, the best pricing on processing. We're super budget conscious, and our client is not something, whatever excuse they want to come up with. And so the salesperson, of course, is like, okay, all right, we'll try to work something out. Let's see what we can do. And, maybe some kind of pricing gets worked out or whatever. And then the job starts. And as client kind of explained, the job is actually pretty simple. You load in a few documents here and there, maybe even a couple of gigs, like super tiny project. Basically how they said, it's a very simple case. There's nothing special about it. Just need a few documents loaded just so we could quickly look at them. But then you get an email saying, hey, we have this hard drive we're sending over to you. It's got some documents. Could you please get it loaded? Like, we got a couple of days. We need to get this reviewed and produced, And so we're like, all right, hard drive. So fine. A hard drive comes in, plug it in. Project manager goes, all right, Nikolai, can you get this quickly loaded so that it's, client needs it right away. Probably not a big deal. So I look at it and I go, whoa, this is not gonna get loaded in like 2 days. Now, whatever crazy thing that's gonna come up at this point is gonna be different from every case, but let me bring one up from a few years ago that the client sent to us. And like I said, they sent us a hard drive, and the hard drive had these volumes of data that they wanted loaded. But when I looked at them, it was absolutely worst possible type of data. I would just call it garbage. And when I go to one folder, I see, all right, we got PDFs. Okay, fine, we got, a few hundred PDFs. I go to the next folder, I see one PDF, but then I look at the size and it's like 2 gigs. I'm like, what the hell, so I open it and it's like entire production lumped into one PDF. I'm like, all right. Go to the next folder, I get same deal, one PDF, but with a text file that contains begin and end numbers. I'm like, oh, so this one I'll need to break up. Fine, go to the next folder. A similar thing, a PDF, and now I have an Excel. And so now Excel has metadata and document breaks for a PDF. I'm like, okay, fine. Go to the next folder, right? And I'm like, oh, OPT file, this is great, And so I start looking at it, and that one's like, it's got PDFs instead of TIFFs, but it does have an OPT file, which is not gonna load anyway. And go to the next folder, and then there is another problem in the next folder and something different. So pretty much every folder has got some kind of problem. So I get project manager on the phone. I'm like, look, this is not gonna get loaded in 2 days. There's tons of work here. And they're like, no, come on, we just got to get this loaded quickly. It's not a big deal. The client just needs it to review really quick. I'm like, I don't know what they need, but this is going to take a long time. So we get a salesperson on the phone. Salesperson, same thing. Oh, could you just load it? Like, why? Can we just put more people on it? I'm like, this is not about more people. Look, this has 70 volumes of garbage, and each one needs to be dealt in a different ways. And they're not listening to me, right? They're just trying to like, what can we say to Nikolai to make him get this loaded in like a day or so? That's all they're thinking about. I'm like, understand that this isn't gonna get loaded quickly. And the second thing we have to consider, tech time. This is gonna probably 2 hours per volume. We're looking at 140 hours of tech time. Is client okay with spending this much? Because they're, all this budget client, right? So I'm trying to tell salesperson, like, get the client on the phone, explain to them what's going on here. We're gonna start loading this on a rolling basis. And they're like, no, we don't need to load it on a rolling basis. We need to load it all at once. And I don't know, why is this so many hours? I don't know what the problems are. I'm like, okay, look, what we can do, let's do an inventory. We go through every folder and make a list of how many folders there are, what different data types there are, and how long would it take to load it. Okay, let's do that. So we probably waste like a day on doing just that, and then I send that report over, and everyone goes like, whoa, yeah, that's a lot of data. I'm like, that's what I've been talking about. You guys not listening to me. Now we're like 10 hours behind. You know, we could have been already loading this, but fine, get the client on the phone. Make sure the 150 tech hours are approved and they understand this is what their bill is gonna be like. And, you know, so everyone goes away, does whatever. And then at some point they come back, all right, it's approved. We need to load it. So go ahead and start loading this data. So get everyone on it, get the whole team, you know, everyone's working on these volumes, figuring them out, OCRing them, breaking up PDFs, doing whatever's got to be done, you know, spend hours and hours and hours on this stuff. Finally, job gets done, everything gets loaded, you know, and you would think this is done, right? We're good, we're happy, but no, now we have to catch up on all the normal work, right? Because now this loading was super rush and everyone was on it. And when you working on something like that, you can't multitask, right? So you have to focus on one thing. So now we have to go back and catch up on the regular projects that have been put on the back burner because we're trying to get this data loaded. Well, what do you think happens next? A month goes by, 2 months, maybe 3 months, and then, you know, email gets across, you know, hey, client is asking, why are we charging so much for this? What was actually done here? And suddenly everyone forgets how much effort we put into this. You know, the salesperson walks by with like an invoice, goes like, Nikolai, what's going, you know, I'm looking at this bill we sent to the client and they saying this is too much. And so now I go on offensive, right? So I go like, wait, let me see the bill, you know, what? Oh, no, we didn't bill enough. This is not even, you know, I just kind of messing with them. We didn't bill enough. This should have been more. I think we're missing hours. Can we add some to this, you know? And the salesperson's like, you know, they're actually trying to do the opposite. What they're trying to do is trying to like minimize the work that was put in. They're like, well, it wasn't so bad, right? I mean, we just loaded some PDFs, right? So why are we charging so much? I'm like, no, this was absolute pain. It was pain and suffering for everyone in the team, and we got backed up with the real work. So don't try to downplay it and don't try to pretend like you want to give a discount on this because we should have charged more. And of course the salesperson walks away unsatisfied. You know, they were hoping to like, oh, you know, maybe we could take, you know, 50% off and make a client happy or something stupid like that. But again, this is exactly what happens. You have a budget client, then they have this job that outside the budget or whatever, they approve it, it all gets done, then they get the bill, and now they're looking for like, oh, how can we not pay for all this work that was done? And of course the salesperson gets on their side because they're trying to like, well, you know, they didn't do any work, so they didn't feel the pain of it and they didn't spend the hours on it. So these are the types of jobs that I start to spot pretty early on, and I know exactly how they're gonna go, and hopefully now you do too. All right, so rent is over. Some practical advice. Number one, make sure the client knows what you're doing. Make sure they know the complexity, send them the inventory, they know how many volumes you're doing, and most importantly, make sure you send them number of hours you think it's going to take so they can reply and say, this is approved. Again, I don't always see those emails. I don't know if salespeople are doing something, you know, but make sure that happens and it is documented that the client had approved this many hours. That is the most important thing. And then finally, of course, stand your ground, you know, don't be a pushover. If it's gonna take a long time to load in QC, that's what it's gonna take, you know. You wanna do, the one thing you wanna do is you want to impress with quality and not speed. You know, salespeople always want to impress with speed, but if you impress with speed, then the quality suffers. As a tech guy or project manager, you want to impress with quality. So that's gonna complete my mini rant / story. I'm sure things like that happen in all other industries. I'm just familiar with them in e-discovery, and I see these things, you know, as soon as they just start to become a problem. Of course, the salespeople don't see them until later, until the client actually calls you up and demands a discount. So anyway, that's my story. Let me know if you have similar experience. Don't forget to follow on LinkedIn, subscribe on YouTube, and I will see you on the video.